Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. It's Sunday Sessions, 25th of October, 2000. Well, thank you very much for joining me on, which is really a bit of a premiere kind of Sunday Sessions, our weekly time for exploring nature-centered folklore, connecting this to your favorite outside sanctuary space, and expressing your inspired visions from your sanctuary, wherever it is. Not so good weather today for it, is it? But if you're out in the garden, out amongst the trees, where you could be sheltered just now, or up the hill, and expressing yourself from there through your writing, art, craft, performance, problem solving, and whatever your vocation happens to be. Well, today's Sunday session is crows, ravens, and folklore, and I'm setting up something very special here in a moment. And this was cancelled last year. We had this an in-person one last year, so this is really a premiere theme for me to share with you, and I've been looking forward to this. It's been quite a bit of preparation, but we've got some lovely guests. I put it out there for guests to come along. We've got the lovely Linda Rosewood, and she'll be with us. And you loved her poem last time when she was with us. And I see in the green room there, Jasmine O'Connor's there. She's a lovely, vibrant Roscommon writer. We have Howard Hawksley. He's going to present to you a traditional Corvid song. You probably will know it. And there's Catherine Crowley. She's a yoga to poetry teacher. Unfortunately, she's not going to be live because she's somewhere else. But we've got a lovely poem of hers. And it's amazing. She does yoga sessions. And after the yoga sessions, people go into a creative writing workshop. But the special guest of all, I've actually got my granddaughter, Ayla, something from her. So I'd love to see who's with us today and what you have to say. This is wonderful. Thanks for being here. We've got Trista. Lovely to see you from up in New York there. Suzanne here. Vanessa, thank you. Vancouver Island. And then we've got Terralyn. Lovely to see you again. Thank you. Donna Johnson, oh, great. Thank you for joining us. You have to get up very early. I don't know how this time change has affected you, but wonderful to see you. Thank you. Yes, thank you for all the regulars that are joining in here. But first, as I say, I'm going to indulge by introducing you to something by my granddaughter, Ayla. What happened was I was putting the crow things out. It's a shame I don't actually have the picture for now, but her grandmother was visiting them. They're in Scotland. And there was a little exhibition of paintings that she'd done. She's 9 years old. And there was one that really struck me. And it was a tree with a big black bird. And I said, look, I'm doing this crow thing. Could you tell me something about the picture? And she didn't write. She actually sent an audio. So this is what Ayla sent to me. I think it's absolutely delightful.
The story of my picture is that the bird's sitting on the tree while his family is inside the little hole and he's just watching this. The story of my picture is that the bird's sitting.
Okay, so much for the audio. I don't think that happened on that one. Oh, that's a shame because it was the most beautiful audio that went with it. I'm going to try again. It seems weird. Can you tell me, did you get audio with that one?
The story of my picture is that the bird's sitting on the tree while his family is inside the little hole. The story of my picture is that the bird's sitting.
That was the rest. That'll be okay. With the rest of them, I hope I haven't. We'll see if I've got an audio problem. Let me know if was the intro playing. Let's see if we actually have an audio problem. There's Lema here. Yeah, greetings to you. Good morning, Kimberly from Boston. And Carolyn, yes, we can hear. Did you actually hear from Ayla? It might be my weird headphones. Never mind. I'll get on with the show. Here we go. Now, crows, jackdaws, and Corvids. They seem to be really sociable, don't they? They're very sociable with each other and very intelligent. There's some very sociable jackdaws. And of course, the ravens, they're very independent. I did read somewhere that crows, they actually, they kind of have the intelligence of a child of 4. And the ravens, they have an intelligence of a child of 7. So they are somewhat more intelligent. And they seem to, all of the Corvids seem to know and sense us well. They pick up on our moods and vibes. They know when we're friendly and welcoming and when to stick around. And some become very affectionate, which is quite unusual for a bird. And as you might know, and I'm going to bring this up later, the crows and ravens have quite a repertoire of calls. It's not all croak, croak. Raven calls are deeper call than the crows. And I'm going to share some excerpts later with that. But ravens, people love the ravens. They're much more independent, more active hunters, and they've got behavior that's a lot like hawks and other raptors. Ravens are also bigger than crows. They always seem to look windblown with a shagginess of feathers. That one there, look at the shagginess of feathers of that one. And but the point of this presentation is really to address the sort of image they have of the evil and sickness imagery that these birds seem to bring into folklore stories. The goitra, the melancholy stories, they seem to come into those that tell of the sickness and the fear-mongering that's being carried by the Corvids. Yeah, there's another thing that sounds like Corvids that's doing that, isn't it? And all this supposedly coming from an unseen source of the divine. There's a lovely California resident songwriter, some of you might know of him, David Nigel Lloyd, quite a friend of Robin Williamson, who I'll speak about a lot on these sessions. And he sent me a wonderful thesis of raven and crow tales last week. And lots of wonderful stuff, but it tended to be on the melancholy, so I couldn't feature much of it. But he's got a beautiful version of his own version of his epic Richard Thompson song, Crazy Man Michael. I think I've got a link that I can give you of him here. There's David. I think that's him. Yeah, that's it. Go to have a look what he's got. Fascinating. He's been around for many years. Some of you may have even seen him live. But say wonderful stuff, including Crazy Man Michael. And that was a song that was on the Legion Leaf, you might remember at the time, Fairport Convention. And there they are. But the song, that song and some of the stories he sent me, as I say, they amplify the melancholy. So here we go. That's quite often what we think of. I think of a scene when we think of corvids, of crows, of ravens, that's carried by these birds. But there was one lovely story that he told me, was that you may know that when ravens and crows, they can actually get used to us and trust us. And they actually try to mimic our voices and some of our words. And David's got a wife, Gina, and she once looked after 2 crows. And one had lost a wing and couldn't fly and was very grumpy about that one. And another one was a little baby that had been kicked out of the nest as a wee chick. And he told me that the winged crow was always moody. They just very close, kept close to them, but just was moody. But the one that had been kicked out of the nest most seemed to need another crow to teach it how to call like a crow. It didn't know how to speak like a crow. So Gita did her best to imitate the crow's squawk in her own California accent, squawking tone, and kept speaking to the baby crow that way. And one day, David heard what he thought was his wife, Gita, teaching the crow how to speak, giving one of her lessons. And he wanted to talk to her. So he went into the room where the crow was, found she wasn't there. It was actually the crow there squawking away with a Gita accent. I thought that was quite hilarious. Very funny. That was one of the nicest stories that he sent. Linda, oh yeah, Linda, I love that so much. Linda's going to come aboard, so she's around somewhere. There she is. Love that song. Gwyn Fay, lovely to see you. Good morning from Florida. Emil, hello. Someone from Sligo, fantastic. Brilliant. And thank you again. And thank you to the people who are listening to this later or watching this later. You could be listening because it's actually on Spotify as a podcast as well. And still put your comments if you're on later, because I do check up and answer as much as I can. Anyway, in this crows and raven session, I'm going to go straight into what is perhaps the best known raven link, sometimes crow link, and it's what a lot of you are familiar with is, there we go, the Morrigan. And the word Morrigan, I find is actually very odd. It's obviously, to me, I think it's an anglicized Latin-based word that has matured from something else, but I don't know when. My guess is perhaps that it was during the Celtic Romantic period, which was 1840 to 1910. Some people call that the Celtic Twilight time and even the Celtic Mist time. But all this seemed to be revived. I suppose a lot of influence was Gardner and the Wickers from the early 50s. And Gardner amuses me. There he is. Because to me, from his imagery, how many of you have been to the Boer figure, the Janus figure on Boer Island? Just as a comparison, there he is. I always think, I wonder if this was a prophecy of Gardner coming onto this earth. Anyway, there you go. My comparison of Gardner and the Janus figure. And for a while, I was quite comfortable with a shorter cut word. It was Morrigan. And this, to me, I discovered this had been shortened from a phrase that I absolutely adore. And I brought this up on other Sunday sessions because we use language today to, as I keep repeating, it's all about things, isn't it? We're always talking about things and describing things. But to me, the old languages were about conditions, what was going on, because people didn't really have much of a concept of things. There wasn't in the ancient times so much of a focus on acquisition. So the Morna Korakuan I absolutely adore, because the Mor is the great infinite, and the Corrie is the valley, or it can be a hollow pot, it can be a hollow hill, and Kuid is the hollow hill that contains the silent, but the silent weaving. And from now on, from Sawan coming up, we do have the silent weaving, because the US people call it the fall, all the debris from the year that's passed, coming up underground, being rewoven into new life and being reborn again at Imbolc in spring. So I love that whole Morna Korakuan, because to me that tells the story. The infinite queen protector, the queen weaver. And I've also seen other words, the Morna Gronya, but that in a way that's more summary, but related to Gronya, and also Onion, which was a goddess carrier of souls to Tir na Nog. And I'm going to see if I can get you a banner with, there you go, these are all the spellings, if that might be useful to you. So there we go. Right, is that back? Still up there, great. Now, as I say, my favorite there, that Morna Korakuan to me, it really describes the womb. It describes the womb, the hollow inside, the caves inside the hill, where there's copulation at the grand conception, the midwinter, and that it kind of grows a kind of watery fetus until the birth. So I'm going to talk about the Morrigan imagery. a bit about the battlefields, the symbolism of crows and ravens in the season of regeneration. I'm going to focus on that much more than the battlefields, but there's going to be a little bit of the battlefield stuff. But even presenting the imagery of the crow and the ravens and corvids as a hope for easing some of our climate change fears, which is another fear-mongering we're going. And I'm going to go into some identification of different crows. That's going to be a fun segment. And I'm also going to be talking a little bit about working with Corvids for divination and totems. But there was a song. I called out for a song, anybody do a cover version of Three Ravens or Trois Corvids, the Scottish one, because these do relate to the battlefield folklore of the ravens and the crows. Now, ravens in the English folk song ballad, that comes from 1611, apparently, the first sort of archived of it, in a book called The Melismata, which was compiled by Thomas Ravencroft. But the actual song is probably much older than that. But Trois Corvids, there they are, some Trois Corvids there. It's sung in the Scots language, and it seems to have first been published in Walter Scott's minstrelsy collection. That was much later in 1812. But both songs, they tell the story very differently. And the three ravens, they're symbolic as ravens. As I said, we're usually independent, but there they are. There's three ravens again, I'll repeat that. They're in threes. Of course, in folklore, they've got to be in threes. Of course, not singular. But in this song, the three ravens, they blather about where and what they should eat. And one of the ravens tells of a newly slain knight. But this knight is guarded by his loyal hawk and his hound. And then another of the ravens carried on and said, well, there was a deer that came to his bottom. I actually visited that body. And the deer kissed the wounds. And the deer actually took him away and buried him. So sorry, lads, there's no meal for us ravens. And the deer apparently was a morphing from the knight's lover. Now, Trois Corvids, I suppose in a way, is a little bit typical in Scottish folklore, the way they've changed this. This goes more into the melancholy and is quite cynical of the Three Ravens song. So this time it's two crows. There's the two crows there. And instead of commenting on the loyalty of the knight's hawk and hound, the Corvid tells that one of the crows there tells that the hawk and the hound, they've just fecked off. They've left him. They've gone off chasing game. They're just doing their own stuff. And there's no mistress that's morphed into a caring deer because she's already fecked off with another lover. So that's the Scottish version for you, the Trois Corvids. So, of course, in Trois Corvids, the good thing there, the Corvids do actually get their meal and nobody else knows that the fallen knight is there. So nobody's going to come along and chase them away. Of course, there's some gruesome detail in that song about the meal that they make of him, picking parts of him, plucking out his eyes and using their hair to build some nests. But the underlying theme of Trois Corvids, there is a positive side. It portrays the fragility of life that goes on after death. And it's summed up in the final lines. I should have put them up for you, but I'm going to put some lines up in a minute. Or his baidens, when they are bare, the wind shall blow for Eremer. So I'm going to, I hope some audio works on this because I'm going to bring up the song. And the song here is presented by Howard Hawksley, appropriate name, isn't it? And he sent me just the audio and I put the lyrics to the audio. So thank you if you're watching this, Howard. Howard, thanks for sending this. So here's the soundtrack of the lyrics, and please tell me if you get the sound.
As I was walking all alone, I heard Trois Corvids making main, lean unto the tether did say, oh, where shall we gang and dine the day, oh, where shall we gang and dine the day? In behind yon old fell dyke, I watched the lies a new slain knight, and naebody kens that he lies there, oh, save his hawk and his hound and his lady fair, oh, hawk and his hound and his lady fair. His hawk has gone a-hunting game, his hounds to fetch the wildfowl hay, his lady's ta'en another mate, oh, so he may mak our dinner sweet, oh, he may mak our dinner sweet. You'll sit on his white house pane, and I'll peck out his bonny blue ween, with many a lock of his golden hair, oh, leak a nest when it grows bare, oh, leak a nest when it grows bare. And many's a man shall ask his name, and none shall ken where he is gane, and his white bones when they are bare, oh, the wind shall blow forevermore, oh, the wind shall blow forevermore.
Sorry about that. I'm having headphone problems here, so I've put onto regular speaker. I hope there's not too much echo. When I've got people on, I'm going to turn my microphone off. But did you actually hear that song? Let me know if you heard that song. I think Suzanne said, yes, you got the song okay, sound working. So I'll know now because I'm using microphone. I've had two headsets, unfortunately, that have failed on me in the last half hour. So that was, I hope you heard it, Howard Hawksley with Trois Corvids there. But I'm now going to return. You got it, fantastic. Now I'm going to go to Ornergat Cave. Ornergat Cave, that's the next target with here. And of course, I was talking about this with the dragons and serpents last week because the tales connected with there and how that connects up with the Keshkoran caves here. So here's the entrance here, Ornergat Cave at Rathcrowan. And of course, talking about Ellen Trekken last week. And Ornergat is perhaps much better known for his connection to the Morrigan stories rather than dragon stories. Now, Linda, who is going to be on very shortly, she sent me last minute. She's got a much nicer photo of the entrance. Look at this. There it is. There's the entrance there. That's hers, which I think is lovely. Let's get the banner away for you, and then you can see the full blessing of that. There you go. Right, fabulous. Well, as I say, known for his Morrigan, Morna story, and visitor pilgrimages are pretty popular when they can, especially by women who like to commune with her, especially around Halloween, especially Samhain. The pilgrimage there, Samhain, is for many women the most precious experience of the sites that they go around to. And you know what? I'm very delighted. Where are you, Linda? Linda's got a poem to share a poem here. Are you around, Linda? I don't see you logged in here. Send me a message where you are. You were here a little while ago. You said hello, but you're not actually on the screen. She sent a gorgeous poem, and I thought she would have no trouble logging on. So I'm not sure if I've got the poem. If she's not here, I think I might have to read it for you. Give me a moment while I find out where it is. There she goes. Right. Come on up. There you go. So if not, let's see. I might have to read it to you, seeing as she is not somehow she didn't log on. So this is it. It's much nicer when Linda reads it, as you know, because you absolutely adored when she was there. But anyway, I'll read it now that you've got the entrance, the vision of the entrance there. I entered the cave of the Corvid queen. Her ladies waited in pines, calling, back, back, back. Doughty I undressed, crouched and bent, my bare feet finding a fissure and a stone. They tell me that stone shouts out a man's name, but in here the women will whisper. Down into the dark and wet, sliding and holding, deep and in, barefoot and finding stones and rocks and mud and magic. At the bottom lies one sharp rock to lean on. High above, too far for fingers to touch, the arch, the fornix, a vault, a chamber. And here I wait in the dark, not to die, not to rot, but speak at last with the Korvik queen. I entered the cave of the Korvik queen on a young winter's night when fires burned unbanked, welcoming home beloved death. I opened my ears and attended her voice, as clear as you hear my voice right now. Join my people, eat our food, dance to our music, sleep in our beds. So spoke the Korvik queen, and I crossed into her cabin. Not dark, but golden with firelight and bright with loving eyes. Hot meat, warm bread, cold ale. And I danced with the daughters of the Korvik queen and sang with her sons. They dressed me in plaid wooden shawls and smooth leather boots. In one night, I lived a long lifetime. Welcome to the cabin of the Korvik queen. Near dawn, my friends, friends fell around me, sleeping and fading from the sight. Now, it's a shame. Maybe Linda will turn up. She would have read that much nicer to you. But I hope you enjoyed my substitute. It's the first time I've properly read it myself. So I hope you enjoyed that. And maybe one day we'll get Linda for that. Now, as I often do, I tend to refer to the medieval scribes. Excuse me while I take a bit of a drink here. And I'm always sort of giving out, aren't I, about how scribes turn the oral stories into sort of linear archives. They write, the medievals, they write sort of left to right, don't they? Or, I don't know, you're looking at a mirror image of me, not like the Chinese, the Japanese, the earlier languages that they were kind of on the vertical. So not only does it seem to take the linear, it seems to be bent on an elite and patriarchal slant, because this was a new culture. At the medieval times, it was a culture of wealthy elite men who become patrons of the scribes. So these patrons expected these scribes to write stuff that was in their favor. You go through these ancient books, and really you find it's references to the elite. You got to go to the Ducas folk stories to actually get the ground roots of really what was told. Now, fascination of these medieval scribes is how on earth they translated oral dictations of this passage in folklore into a linear, the whole thing about the Morrigan in a linear rather than cyclical format. No, that's someone else. Well, the linear writings was a mix of Greek, Minoan, Germanic, Latin letters, all knitted together along with the symbols. And as I've shown in previous sessions, they added a mix of Norse, Germanic, Saxon, Pictish, and Gael, all kinds of imagery ranging from those knots and the lizards and the dragons and the spirals as well. I haven't got pictures up of them this week. But the folklore they scribed and presented was not exclusively local Gael, and it was mixed with Norse, Germanic, Greek, and Minoan folklore, possibly some from some of the regions of West Africa as well. So it looks like the Morrigan possibly, when they wrote it down and called her the Morrigan rather than Morna Coracune and the other variations, I think they were inscribed by this creature here, the Norse legend of the Valkyries, or I've got the spellings up here. Maybe you can pronounce it better than me. Is this it? Yeah, there you go. And now their stories are very much the battlefield stories. The female that went to the battlefields, and they were scavengers of the flesh, the weapons, and also the gatherer of the possessions that were on the battlefield. Very different to the cyclical story that I know and tell of the Morna Coracune, which is the transition from our autumn through the winter, through the grand conception of midwinter into the spring. So the scribes, to me, have merged those different folklores. And because there's a patriarchal slant, and because there was acquisition, and because acquisition meant taking over tribes and what they got, I think that's how you got the Morrigan was born. That's just my thoughts and feelings on it. But the Saxons, I don't think I've got any pictures of these. The Saxons of Germanics, they had the Indice, and that was a female crow who watched over battlefields. And the crows were kind of, it's almost as if they were betting. They were diviners. They would decide who would be the winners and who they'd be able to plunder, who would be the losers that they'll be plundering and feasting on later. But Morna Coracune is the one for me, more from the warrior battle woman, the Morrigan, very different. But the Morrigan images, there's lots of books out. They definitely inspire some powerful motivational spirit of encouragement and esteem building within women, because for all the breakdowns towards equality in a lot of areas, as you're familiar with, the equality isn't quite there. And it's as if the Morrigan image, and to actually, it's as if that, I believe, as I say, I'm not a woman, how can I speak so much on this? To me, it's like as if it fires up and gives encouragement, because a lot of women's voices are suppressed. They're very much into the servitude. And they can get to the point, oh, my wee little voice, it's not even worth expressing. Yes, it is. And I think when they read about the Morrigan stories, it kind of fires that up. So I think that's where it's useful. But please share your thoughts and interpretations in the comments about that little waffle there. But the Morrigan itself, being a kind of morphing being, includes morphing into a raven, or as you might consider as a murderer of crows. And to me, this is another thing. The digestive system of a crow, of a raven, of any corvid. This is what I find fascinating. And it's a lesser part of the folklore that's told. You know, that if you can get crows into an area that's polluted, there's poisons, they can slurp up the poisons, eat up the poisons, even poisons within, let's say, a dead animal. They can eat it up, and they've got such powerful digestive systems that regenerate all that poison, all that pollution, and then when it comes out their rear end, it's pure, safe, organic matter. They're cleaning up the earth. They're cleaning up our planet. So that's another thing in the folklore. You can pull so many stories up from that. So that's, to me, a very important part. So Corvids are scavengers. The digestive system is taking all those toxins and they poop them out as safe fertilizer that will not mess up anybody's organic farming certification. Absolutely amazing. And it's said in the greater folklore how the Morna Coracune actually absorbs the debris from the end of harvest, and also the leaf fall, and reweaves this into a new life within her womb, which is like an earth's digestive system, and it becomes the water that becomes released the next spring. So any more thoughts and comments on that, on the regeneration imagery, and especially on the encouragement and the esteem and the imagery carried by women? I look forward to reading your comments on that very shortly with that. In fact, let's have a look what you're actually saying on that right now. Where's my reading materials? There we go. Linda, you did a good job of reading it. Oh, Linda's about. Sorry you didn't get on board. I hope, did you not have a signal? Well, it's very sad. I hope we'll get you another time. Suzanne, right. Rathcrowan, there we go. Rathcrowan Visitor Centre takes tour to the Cave of Cats. Thank you, Howard. You're on board. I hope you managed to catch your tune, your lovely song, because I didn't, because the headphones didn't work. Anyway, that's great. And there's Chandler. Oh, lovely. We've got Chandler on board. She's a person of lovely poems. And the regeneration imagery of the crow reminds me of the phoenix. Indeed, it is. I was unaware that they could clean up toxins. Yes, it took me a while, but it's just the power of their digestive system is unbelievable. I think it just shows you that when we think we're destroying the planet, bring the Corvids in, not the COVID, bring the Corvids in, and they do an amazing clean-up job. And I say that as really as an encouragement of the Corvids because of the ugly image that they have with a lot of people, almost as if they're a frightening, melancholy, even a cruel image. And they're not, and they're quite essential. Now, there's other folklore. I'm going to run out of time with this, so I'm not going to go into it. But one to look up, do a Google search, is Odin, represented by the raven Hugin of Thought and Munin of Memory. I'm not sure if I pronounced those right, but Hugin anyway. That's of our thought, of our memory. And those of you who are shamans and shaman practice out there, you'll perhaps regard that and the totems as being very much the basis of your shaman practice. So I'm not going to talk more about that. But I'm going to move on. Jess is patiently waiting there. But before then, I hope this works for you and hopefully might be able to listen. I'm going to turn my microphone off whilst this is going on. This is a video recording by Catherine Crowley, who couldn't be here. And she covers a lot of crow and raven mythology through her poem here. And she asked me if I could put a website link up, and why not? This is what we're here to do. Is this her? No, that's something coming up. Where is she? She's here somewhere. Oh goodness. Where are you? Now I do have a banner for her somewhere. I did put one up. I hope I didn't throw it off. There she is. She's up there. There we go. That's it. If you have a look, Catherine.au, so she does this yoga to poetry practice. Absolutely wonderful. And I'm going to bring her on to do I got a video recording of her poem here. There she is. And do enjoy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Catherine Crowley, and I'm going to read you one of my poems called Ode to Crows. On the wings of human imagination, you soar through the centuries, known as a powerful creature of intelligence. Greek mythology revers you as prophet, but messengers are not always treated fairly. Apollo, crazed by his lover's cheating, lashed out at the raven, scorching feathers black. The Bible says that Moses released you to check on receding waters after the flood. King Solomon's hair was as black as your body, while Norse god Odin looked to you for world news. Later, scholars picked the records apart, depicted you as evil and the dove so white and peaceful. The Morrigan of war, shape-shifting as a crow, or the three-in-one goddess of girl, woman, crone. Our projections are endless. I see your resilience And if you feast on the corpse, well, what about it? Life comes in many forms. You move above me with the rising of the sun to land on a mighty oak, taking your place in the court of animals, trees, and clowns. Urban waste your treasure, jittery, twitchy on the ground, noisy, yacky, clever croaks. The stillness of dawn reveals your voice, whiplash jazz, a symphony of scavengers. Mouths and beaks sing songs of life, where you simply play your part.
Oh, great. Hope you enjoyed that bit. I didn't get to hear it myself, but I'll hear it later. Thank you, Catherine. If you're watching, I think she's going to be watching a bit later on, so that's great. Now, what I'm going to be doing very shortly is going into COVID identification, because there's 40 species worldwide. There's 7 of them in Ireland, so I'll introduce you to them, and you'll recognize them. But before we do any of that, let's bring her on board. I'm going to introduce you to Jasmine O'Connor, one of lovely Roscommon poets, and I was bowled over when she sent me some of her crow ones. So here we go.
He keeps coming back over to me. Later on. Now, what I'm going to be doing.
Hello? I'm going to assume that you can hear me, but I can't hear myself. I'll just carry on because I don't know if you can hear me or not hear me. So it's just my Wi-Fi. Just like a kind of a light-hearted one about crows in my chimney. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead. So forgive my Wi-Fi, it is appalling. Okay, boundaries. Chicken wire squeezed to a prickly ball blackens in the chimney hole. Bristling its fist to the lurking crows who tug and claw, poke then post scrawny sticks or lengths of wire through the tiny octagonal gaps, but they fail finally to fill the stack, build the raft they need in the sky, and we are relieved at last that they've given up. And the morning doesn't rattle with tumbling twigs, cables, cans, and bottle caps, and we no longer start every day pulling away the roof of the stove to reach up and empty 3 feet of their empire. Our neighbour's rubbish landed on the living room floor, marveling at all the things old. Excerpt the farmer's journal, bits of tools, screws, and crumpled cans, brands we'd never drink, locks to chains, not ours, but mostly crows claim to this house, to us, blocked by a bolt of chicken wire. I still can't hear anything, so I don't know if I'll just plod on.
Wait, you did come on okay. You were good there. Most of it came through. I think probably with your permission now, I'll post up the poems as you're speaking so people can read them. But it was lovely to get some of the voice. It reminded me of the time, I think it was in the mid-'80s when the Live Aid was on.
Yeah.
And the Genesis man, Phil Collins, he played in London at a certain time and he went to Philadelphia to show up and play at the same time there. And he was on the plane, I think it was the Concorde, and he was, and Billy Connolly was saying, the technology is so amazing what we got. This was 1985. I couldn't even understand a word he said, but the technology is so amazing. So, anyway, we did get the nice words from you. Have you got another one for us? Try again with another one.
Which one did you want, John?
Yes.
Which one did you want, John?
Well, that was Boundaries, wasn't it? Child Morning Radio.
That was Boundaries. Okay, morning radio, if you insist. It's a bit of a funny one.
Explain why it's different.
Sorry?
Explain why it's a bit different. I think it's a very clever poem, the way it's one line listening to the radio and one line seeing what's going on outside. I think that's fabulous the way you do that.
Yeah. Okay, I just think maybe when you hear it, it's harder to picture, but sure, I'll just read it anyway. It's kind of toggling between what I'm listening to on the radio and what I'm looking at out the window.
I think it's a stunning poem.
All right. Okay, I'll go ahead. Okay, morning radio. 2 jackdaws pace the scaff planks outside, pulling at things from the topsoil pile. A father and daughter on a beach in Cork, from the farm. Dislodging roots, abandoning the hill for the ground. She was washed up. He turned up later in the shallows. They stroll the gravel, idly finding seeds. Who brings a child swimming at midnight? We keep our eyes intently on the silvering birds. That's it.
Thank you. Now, that was actually a lot clearer. So do try again. If I can bring you on in a few minutes' time to do a third one, that'd be fabulous. But thanks very much for that, Jess. I wish we could have a conversation, but I understand the signal is a wee bit rough. But thank you so much. And we'll be back with you. We'll try again. Thanks. Right. Thank you, Jess. I hope you got a sense of that. A remarkable poet. I'm not sure if she has a website. I'll look it up and I'll put it in the comments a bit later. But we're going to have a bit of a fun time because I'm talking about the Corvids and the crows, the ravens, and all the other wonderful ones. So I'm going to give a wee bit of a presentation. And we've got all good, Jasmine. Thank you for saying that, Dervla. And Monica, thank you for being here. And thank you. Yes, Susan, and beautiful. Yes, it certainly was for what we got. Whoops, Jasmine's sort of gone off for a minute. And great. Now, let's get to the fun bit here, the Corvids. Now, I hope this works out for you. I've not done something quite like this before. So let's start with the Rooks. The Rooks, they're large. You know, the Rooks, they got the massive beaks and you wouldn't get too close to them. But here's a Rook and what a Rook sounds like. Well, that's it. I hope that sound came through. And now the Hooded Crows, they're the ones that when the Rooks, they get into the chimney pots, they push them out of the way, and sometimes they call the Hooded Crows the Banshee as well. They're kind of related to that. So let's have some, see if I can get some Hooded Crows on here. Right, that was, I wonder if I got the wrong thing here. Hooded Crows, where are you? I've got a nice video of Hooded Crows. Is this the Hooded Crows? I might have in the wrong order. Hooded Crows. And we got the, and now the Jackdaws. These are the ones with the grey heads, and they have a proud swagger when they go walking along. But they pester a lot of people because they're the ones that block the chimneys. So we say, oh, it's the crows, but it's these people. Right. And now the Magpies. The thieves, the curse of some people, but a delightful colour, magpies. Come on, magpies. All right, and now the Choffs. I love these, the red beaks, the red legs. They have an incredible flight, lovely. I think they have a more adorable flight than the raven. And they actually have a nickname of Celtic crow. There's a lot of these up in Donegal, on the coast in Donegal. Slieve League is a place you'll see crows. Not crows, choughs. So here's a chough. Right. Now, a bird that's quite common around Irish woods, you hear it, you don't see it. It's a very beautiful bird, but you'll often hear it and you'll think, oh, is that a crow? And it sounds strange, or is it a bird with a cold? And that is the jays, European jays. Absolutely adorable bird. You'll hear it in the woodlands here much more than you actually see it. So here we go. Right, and what one have we missed out here? I suppose you might be wondering. The ravens, of course. And here we have the hearty voice, the low voice, the loud voice of the raven. And there's a lot of people that remark on the ravens of flight, and I managed to get a lovely video clip of a bit of a raven. Here's a nice treat for you, a raven in flight. Isn't that gorgeous? It's lovely to catch that. Whoever caught that, that's absolutely wonderful. Let's see what you've had to say about watching that nature. We used to go for nature walks on a Sunday, so that's our little nature walk through the sounds of the Corvids. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you heard it. Great, and well, Emil here actually heard the poems, Jess. Heard them very clearly. Great, and Manitou also absolutely adored it, and they should too. The thing with you, Jess, if you say a poem, I think it's a bit like what and I think this happens a lot with poets as well. When you're here for the first time, it's like they say dogs, they understand about 1 in 30 or 40 words that a human says, but somehow they can patch it all together and know exactly what the human is saying. And I think that's like that with poets. When you hear poems, you might not hear every word, but the words you pick up and you actually put together in your mind and soul and your interpretation, you get the poem. And I think that's, even though it was broken up, I think that's what happened there. Anyway, I'm going to go on to a story. Now, I probably know 8 versions of this story. It's a local story, and I'd probably tell 8 different versions. I counted them up, and there's 8 of this. So in previous Sunday sessions, you might have heard other versions, but this really brings the crows, or it brings the ravens into this one. Now, it's the story of a man who stole all the eggs from a raven's nest, and he was mischievous, cruel in a way, and he boiled them up. He took the eggs from the nest, and he boiled them up, and he put them back in the nest. No idea why he did this. Well, there was a reason, but it's coming up. But the mother raven came along back to the nest and realized that these eggs had been boiled. But she didn't seem overly concerned. So she flew over to Corona. She flew over to the Ornergat mountain. And from there, you know, the Ornergat's quite popular for the coal mining. Well, if you go next to the coal seams, there's this very, very hard black rock, and it's very much a shamanic, in-demand black rock. So this raven, it picked up a piece of this magical black rock, it brought it back to the nest, put it across the eggs, and all the boiled eggs returned to life and the chicks were fine inside. Well, the man who did the boiling of the eggs, he actually did it for that very reason. He knew that the raven would fly off because the man was weak. He couldn't walk very far. And he knew this raven would fly off and come back with this black stone. And because he personally heard that if he could get hold of this black stone himself, he could take it along to the local hag's well, the kayak's well, and he could wash it and rub it. And if he did that by the well, and it's a well of visions, that he will be gifted with the presence of a beautiful woman to become his wife. And also his stamina and strength would return, so he could also be a passionate mate with his wife. So he went to the local well with a black stone that he took off of the nest, and he rubbed it, expecting this beautiful woman to appear, but instead 3 crows appeared. And they somehow happened to have the name of Bev, Maka, and Nevin. And Bev was of illusion, Maka of confidence, and Nevin of prophecy. Now, these groups were known as the precorn, and you see I brought that up a little bit earlier, if I can bring that banner up again, of the precorn, which is a kind of, it was a word I think first used for this group of 3 crows, the messengers. These 3 crows were known as the messengers. And I think that the leprechaun came from this because for quite a long time, a precorn of crows as a group of crows was used as a description instead of today. They say a murder of crows, don't they? So it was a precorn. Anyway, their message was to come to the well and take this trickster man off up into the hill, the Cache Hill, into the Hollow Hill, right through the caves where the Doida, a hag. I'm actually combining the secret of this. I'm combining the local story with a story from the Isle of Mull in Scotland, where there is a similar hill. It rises up out of the sea, and it's known as the Berg. It's near Tiror, and inside the Berg there is the Doida, which has exactly the same kind of folklore and legends as our hag as a kayak inside the Hill of Cache here. Anyway, I'm using the Doida in this one because there was a huge connection in those days. There was no Scotland, there was no Ireland. It was all the same Gael culture. So there we have the Doida, the hag, the kayak. And he was taken by the 3 precorn of crows into the cave, and so this weak man was to sleep with her within this monocorcune womb. And if he would sleep with her, with the Doida, his stamina would return and fertility would return, and there would be a great conception, grand conception of midwinter between the 2 of them, the Doida and this weak man who would now come strong. And then from that conception, the whole fertility of spring would be released through the breaking of the waters and through the fertility at Imbolc. And through enchantment of a harp that he created through the winter, he actually took an alder tree inside the caves. And with this wood of alder, and he actually had some gut, I don't know if it's crow gut, with the strings, and made the instrument, and he actually mounted the black stone and he molded it into this alder harp. And it became more famously known as the Withna or Uthna. And its 4 corners were to conduct the seasons of the year from that midwinter onwards. And he also took clay that was out of the water that he was bathing in inside this hill. And the fire that came out of this lock baked this pot. And it was this pot that he could use to carry the following year it would be blessed at Belthany, and it would be a pot that would carry the porridge from the harvest that would feed everyone. And every so one, he would be worn out again by the well. He would tap the stone during an autumn rainbow, and it would call the precon, the crows, to come back and guide him back to the Doider again. And so this man who became weak at every fall, at every autumn, became known as the enchanter of the Doider. And most people know the Doider, and I often call him the Doider. We know him more as the Dagda today. So that's another version of that song, that story, in a roundabout way that talk to you. Okay, right. This is where I'll get to the serious bit. This is where, could I ask your help, please? The Labyrinth Gardens, the Sunday sessions, they're all brought to you by subscribers and donations. I have the Patreon. I think I have time to bring up the Patreon banner here. There's the pre-corners here, and there's the spelling of the Doider, the hag, and there's the Isna. It's got so many different pronunciations, that harp, and there is the point for now. So anybody who can spare a pound or $1 or €1 with donations, and it doesn't stop there, because I'm developing a she, water, and tree folklore course, and this is going to be for you subscribers. It's going to take these Sunday session subjects I kind of ramble through and make them into more depth, because I only really touch on the surface of some of these subjects. And the course media will be videos, podcasts, slides, ebooks, and eventually we'll have some Zoom-like course meetings, the real serious Zoom stuff, you know. And there'll be some optional projects that you can, and tasks for you to have a go at. I'm framing this already, as in evenings are now drawing in. I've got time for doing it. So as I say, links are all over the Carrowcroy Cottage website. So that'll be a great help if you can do that. And thank you for those. Some of you watching today are subscribers, so thank you very much for that. Looking forward to the course. I'm actually looking forward to actually having something to present to you, and I hope it will not be in a too distant future. Let's get that. And you can join the Carrowcroy sessions here. And do tinkle. There should be a bell. Facebook has brought in the YouTube type bell. So if you're on the Facebook, please click the bell so I can remind you of the sessions coming up. Because I'm going to talk to you about sessions that are coming up in the next couple of weeks. We got some lovely stuff where you can actually join in. We got the Sowan sessions on the 1st. There we go. 1st of November, and that's next Sunday. The Sowan traditions. And for that, this is open to you. I'll give a few traditions, and please share the traditions you do wherever you are for your Sowan. I would love to hear more from you than from me this time. So this is really very much an open door for yourselves. And on the 8th of November, the Lighted Labyrinth, unfortunately, we can't do the Lighted Labyrinth for, you know why. But we're going to open it up as a Sowan gathering and loosen it up even more than Sowan traditions. I hope I hardly speak on this one. This is totally open to yourselves. Let's make this a whole Sowan online gathering. And I'll speak more about this on my posts over the next week or two. Then on the 15th, we got Claire. Claire takes over. Claire Roach, and it's going to be an introduction to the harps and bardic folklore. I'll go very much into the Doider and the harps and the Coran and the harp. I'll give a little introduction to the ancient bardic origin. But Claire's going to be with you to show that actually harp or any music is not there. You don't need to be part of a symphony orchestra. She's going to show you that even a simple string can be very meaningful as a form of poetry from yourself, but rather than words from your sound. And of course, you can mix the two. So that's going to be in 3 weeks' time, isn't it? 15th of November. But Jasmine has come back and she's got one more poem. Jasmine, fire away. You've got another poem for us. Right. How are you doing for vocals there? Packed, isn't it?
Okay. Can you hear
There
me?
we go.
I can hear you.
Let's fire away first.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I'll just read one more poem. It's called Pact, which was in my last.
Oh, wonderful!
In my last. Yeah, and yeah, this is the last book, but there's one coming out very soon called Silver Spoon, and that's coming out with Salmon. But it should be in the next, hopefully by Christmas. I'm not sure. Pact. Eventually, the crows stopped building brittle knitted towers in the chimney, and I missed them. I missed their dawn scratchings, the feel of their feet on the slates of my head, the crack of tumbling bolts and glass on the apex roof, and the raucous chat roaring down our megaphonic chimney stack. I missed their eternal silhouette standing guard on the pot, on the house, over me underneath, dislodging their foundations, whispering up our secret. Thanks, John.
Oh, great, thanks. That was a lot clearer. That came out fantastic. That was yeah, I could hear every word of that, and I hope everybody else did. That was fabulous. Thanks for coming back, Jess, and we'll have to get you in a better environment so people can really appreciate you and the wonderful poetry you do. And thanks for putting your books up. I'll get them listed a bit later on. So thank you very much for that.
Thanks a million, John.
Thanks. Bye. Have a wonderful day.
Bye.
And I hope your ankle heals soon. Bye. Thank you again for Jess here. Thank you for Linda Rosewood, though she couldn't get online. Her lovely poem. Also, I forgot to put a picture up. There we go. There's the Howard Hawksley, who you heard earlier with the Trois Corvids. There he is earlier. I don't have a picture of my granddaughter, Ayla Santos Wilmot, but thank you to Ayla for her bit. I'd like to ask you to, keep commenting. A lot of you will be watching the archives, as you usually do. Keep commenting if you're watching this a bit later, and I'll come back and answer you. And here's wishing you that you enjoy a safe week, full of wonder, inspiration, celebrations, and your enchantments. Let's have a look at your final words before we wrap this up. And so kind of you to all be here. And Suzanne said this is new, because we had Suzanne wonderfully last week. That was lovely over there from Vancouver Island. Thank you. And so I think we're sort of nearing the end here. So thank you all so much for being here and the comments, and we'll put up Jesse's books a bit later. So until next Sunday, play well, be safe, and bye-bye to you.